Hi, I'm Kristin Omdahl and welcome back to my studio. Today I want to show you how to make this beautiful and deceptively simple celebration poncho. It starts with a triangle. You start at the top here and you work your way down, increasing as you go to make one solid triangle. Then you join a secondary smaller triangle to the side of the larger triangle as you go on one side and then on the other to create a rectangle. Then we repeat the entire process for the back and join them together to make this beautiful poncho that you can wear in a number of ways. Follow the links to my website where you can download this beautiful pattern as well as order Be So Fine yarn. You'll need 2 balls to make this project, and this is shown in colorway Sangria. Let's get started. I have 1/2 of the poncho completed already, so I can show you what we're going to be doing today. First, we're going to start here at the top center and work as a top-down increasing construction for the center triangle. Okay, so this is the original piece that we're going to make. And then we're going to come and join halfway up one of the sides and do a top-down increasing triangle that joins to the original triangle as we go for one side. And then we're going to come over here and do the same thing over here. And by adding these 2 join as you go mini triangles to the original large triangle, we then get this great rectangle for making a beautiful figure flattering poncho. The project uses Be So Fine yarn, which is fingering weight yarn, but to show you the stitches a little bit bigger on camera today, I'm using my worsted weight organic cotton and bamboo blend Be So Bold yarn, and I'll be using a size H8 5mm crochet hook, but if you're doing the actual pattern with Be So Fine yarn, you'll be using an E4 or 3.5mm crochet hook. Depending on the look you're going for, because this is a top-down construction, you could actually do this project on any weight yarn. You'll just want to make your first triangle the length that you want your entire piece to be and the width you want your entire piece to be, and the smaller triangles will then just fill in the gaps to make it a rectangle. You're going to need 2 rectangles to make the poncho. I have 1 done already. And now let's get started on the large main triangle. We start by tying our yarn to our crochet hook. You can use a slip knot, a square knot, whatever you prefer. And we're going to start with a chain 4. And work 8 double crochets in the 4th chain from your hook. The 4th chain, to count 4 chains, you want to skip the loop on your hook. That is not a chain, that's your working loop. So we're going to count back 1, 2, 3, and 4. Double crochet is yarn over your hook, insert your hook into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook. So the chain 3 that we skipped counts as our first double crochet. That's our second. We want a total of 9, so we have the chain 3 plus 8 double crochets for a total of 9 double crochets in that last chain. And this is what the end of row 1 should look like. Row 2 begins with the chain 7. The chain 7 counts as our double crochet for 3 chains and then chain 4. So it's a double crochet, chain 4. We're going to turn our work and double crochet in the first stitch. Yarn over your hook, insert your hook in the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now that chain 7 and double crochet counts as a double crochet, chain 4, double crochet. We're going to chain 4, Okay, then in the space after the first 3 double crochets but before the 4th double crochet, we're going to double crochet in that space between the 2 stitches. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook. Okay, so we double crocheted in the space between the 2 stitches. We're going to chain 4, skip 3 stitches, and double crochet in the space before the next stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook in the specified space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 4, and double crochet, chain 4, double crochet, all in the last stitch. The last stitch was the first chain 3 that counted as a double crochet in the last row. So to work into the chain 3 that counts as a double crochet, you're actually working into the 3rd chain of that chain 3 space. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook in the top chain of that chain 3, which would be the top of the double crochet equivalent, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 4, and double crochet in that same space. And this is what the end of row 2 should look like. You should have 5 chain 4 spaces. Row 3 begins with a chain 3. Turn your work. In the next chain 4 space, we're going to work 3 double crochets. Now you're not working into any stitches, you're just working into that large space. Okay, skip the next stitch, and in the next chain 4 space, work 3 double crochets. The next chain 4 space is our center chain 4 space, and there we're going to work 9 double crochets. In each of the next 2 chain 4 spaces, we're going to work 3 double crochets each. Then you want to work a double crochet in the last stitch. Well, the last stitch is, well, it would have been the first stitch at the beginning of the last row, which was a chain 7 that counted as a double crochet chain 4. So if you want to crochet into the double crochet part of it, you want to count up 3 chains, and in the top of that 3rd chain would be the double crochet equivalent, and you'll double crochet into that chain. And this is what the end of row 3 should look like. Row 4 begins with a chain 7 that counts as a double crochet chain 4. Turn your work and double crochet into the first stitch. Chain 4. Skip the next 3 stitches and double crochet in the space before the next stitch. Chain 4. Skip the next 3 stitches and double crochet in the space before the next stitch. And this is what you will repeat across to the end of the row. Skip the next 3, double crochet in the space before the next, chain 4. Okay, so in the last stitch, which was a chain 3 that counts as a double crochet, which means we're going to work into that top 3rd chain, we're going to work double crochet, chain 4, double crochet. So double, chain 4, and double. And that's what the end of row 4 should look like. Row 5 We start with a chain 3, turn our work, work 3 double crochets in the next chain 4 space, and we're going to repeat that all the way until we get to the center chain 4 space. So in every side chain 4 space we're going to work 3 double crochets, then in the center one work 9 double crochets. Okay, we've come to the center chain 4 space, so now we're going to work 9 double crochets there. And then we'll work 3 double crochets into each of the last 4 chain 4 spaces and double crochet in the last stitch. Remember, the last stitch is part of that chain 7 that counted as a double crochet chain 4, so you want to find the third chain that would count as the top of the double crochet and work your last double crochet there. And this is what the end of row 4 should look like. Row 5 begins with a chain 7, that counts as a double crochet chain 4. Turn your work and double crochet into the first stitch. Chain 4, skip the next 3 stitches and double crochet in the space before the next stitch. And we're going to repeat this across the entire row, and then in the last stitch work the increase like we did in the first stitch with a double crochet, chain 4, double crochet. Okay, we're down to our last stitch now, which is a chain 3 that counts as a double crochet, so make sure that you're working into the top or third chain of that chain 3 to count as the top of a double crochet, and you're going to work double crochet, chain 4, and double crochet all into that same stitch. And that's what the end of row 5 should look like. You want to repeat rows 4 and 5 for the desired length of your first triangle. In the next section, I'm going to show you how to join one of the mini triangles to the side of this larger triangle as we go. This is what it should look like at the end of row 6. You want to repeat rows 5 and 6 for your desired size of your first triangle. For the demo, we're going to be using a triangle this size, which is rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're working through rows 8. You're going to want to repeat rows 5 and 6 for whatever size triangle you're going to be using. At this point, you want to mark the chain 4 space that is halfway between the corner and the center. So here's our corner, here's our center chain 4 space. So you want to count back from each side to find the center. So 1 each, 1 each, 1 each. This is the center one. This is the spot where you're going to join your yarn with a slip stitch and begin one of the smaller triangles to fill in this gap to create the triangle into a rectangle. Okay, so holding on to that spot, so holding on to that chain 4 space, we're going to join our yarn with a slip stitch. Chain 3 and slip stitch into the next chain 4 space. Now working in the first chain 4 space we slip stitched into, we're going to now work 9 double crochets. And slip stitch into the next chain 4 space. This is what the end of the first row should look like on the smaller triangle. Now we're going to chain 3, slip stitch into the next chain 4 space on our large triangle, chain 4, turn our work, and now in the first double crochet on the first row of the small triangle, work a double crochet. Chain 4. Now in the space after those first 3 double crochets but before the 4th, we're going to double crochet. Chain 4, skip the next 3 stitches, and in the space before the next, work a double crochet, chain 4, and in the last stitch we're going to work double crochet, chain 4, and slip stitch into the next chain 4 space on the original triangle. And this is what the end of row 2 should look like for the small triangle. So we'll set this back so you can see the main triangle, and you'll see we've worked back and forth, joining as we go. We have 2 rows complete of our mini triangle now. We're going to chain 3, slip stitch into the next chain 4 space, turn our work, and in that first chain 4 space, work 3 double crochets. In the next chain 4 space, work 3 double crochets. In our center chain 4 space, work 9 double crochets. Three double crochets in the next chain 4 space. Three double crochets in the next chain 4 space, and slip stitch into the next chain 4 space on the original triangle. This is what the end of this row looks like. That would be row 3 of our small triangle that's joined as you go to the large triangle. We're now ready to do our final row here, which is to chain 3 and slip stitch into the next chain 4 space, chain 4, turn your work, double crochet into the first stitch on the previous row, chain 4. In between the first 3 stitches and the 4th stitch, we're going to double crochet in that space, chain 4, skip the next 3 stitches, double crochet in the space before the next stitch. We're going to repeat this all the way across. In the last stitch, we're going to work double crochet, chain 4, ooh, barely gonna make it on this one, and slip stitch into the next chain 4 space on the original triangle. Okay, and you can see we now have one of our small triangles completed onto the large triangle. So this half is now turned into a rectangle, and I'll show you what it looks like when you end up doing both sides. You now have a rectangle, and then once you have both of those done, you're going to either sew from the shoulder to the edge, or you can crochet them together, or you can follow the decorative stitch that I used when you go to download the free pattern on my website. Remember that this is a smaller sized version of the poncho for the demonstration. You want to make sure that you're repeating rows 4 and 5 until you have completed your small triangle, and you'll know when you're done because you'll have joined to the corner chain 4 space and the center chain 4 space on your original triangle. I hope you enjoyed making the celebration poncho with me. Please leave me any questions in the comments, subscribe to my channel for more videos, and let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. I'll see you next time.